Right, hello everyone. Thank you very much joining the topic number two of our final year project. So the topic two will be getting started in your final year project. So I believe that most of you should already confirm your group or already meet with your supervisor or tutor at least once, okay, before this is actually the first week, so I think we have to kickstart the project. Okay, in case you still not yet meet with your supervisor, I will strongly recommend you to do it as soon as possible. Okay, if you have any difficulty to approach your supervisor, okay, do let me know. Okay. What we are going to do today will be to go through some practical issue, okay, that you have to do in the beginning of the FYP. Okay, now suppose you are now getting the project topics, okay, for the DL student, okay, you may still actually thinking your topics, okay, but bear in mind that, okay, your project topic, okay, need to be kind of like confirmed within 1 to 2 weeks because in the week 6 to week 8, we're going to do our project proposal presentation and you're going to submit your project proposal afterward. Okay, so this will be our schedule in the initial stage. So in the project proposal, okay, what we are going to looking at will be a couple things. Of course, the project title. Okay, so you have to tell me what exactly you want to do. Okay, so you need to come up with a title. For undergraduate project, for the full-time project, most of the title are already provided by your supervisor, but the topic the supervisor provide to you may be very broad. So you may have to revise your project title after some discussion with your supervisor. Okay, so even the title is already given on the description, but you have to kind of revise it. Okay, I'm sure that okay your supervisor will guide you how to revise the project title. And then well, the major part of your proposal, okay, are basically the aims of your project, the objective, and also some kind of justification, okay? And so what's this? I'm going to talk about what is justification, okay? So you're going to do review, okay, on your FYP with some existing solution. So it's called literature review, okay? So you're going to do some literature review. And certainly, in the initial stage, you also need to think about, well, how can you approach the project? Okay, so of course, okay, in this particular items, in this particular time, okay, you may not be able to find out the complete solution, but you need to kind of think about, well, how can you approach, how can you tackle the problem briefly, okay? And then some project planning, okay? If this is a group project, then you still need to do have some kind of team working arrangement, okay? So in the beginning, okay, so there is some questions you have to ask yourself, okay? So always, okay, when you given a project from your supervisor or you want to propose your own project, there is some very important issue. First of all, what is the problem? Okay, so definitely, okay, each project is going to solve particular problems, right? So what is the problem? What is the problem that you are going to solve? Okay, and why you're going to solve the problem? Why this problem is important? Well, of course, okay, some of the topics, some of the problem are proposed by your supervisor or proposed by the company, but there is a reason behind the problem is important to us. There's a reason why the problem is important to our society. So you have to explain why the problem is important. Of course, okay, how to solve the problem is another issue. Okay, so you want to solve it, but well, how can you do it? Okay, now you have to ask yourself, you have to discuss with your supervisor. Always your supervisor will actually ask this kind of question. Okay, so when you write down your proposal, you have to stay very clear about what problem you're going to solve, and this problem belongs to a certain domain, and why it is important, and well, how you're going to solve it. Okay, and of course, okay, if it is a good project, okay, even if it's an individual project, you have to do some kinds of project management to plan how you are going to solve the problem step by step during the final year project. So this is called project management. Okay, it's not just technical, but also some kind of management issue on your project. Particularly, okay, if you have a group of quite a lot of students, then you have to think about how can I divide my labor, how can I separate the job into different pieces. Okay. Now I'm not going to expect you can have a very good planning in the beginning. At least you do have some, in order to show that well you actually thought about the problem clearly, rather than just well randomly imagine that there is a problem, okay, and didn't actually think about well, how to do it. Okay. And this is always important in the beginning, in the first stage. Okay, you have to make sure that the project, the topic that you select, is doable, is within the time range. Okay, you cannot just do something which is too simple or too difficult. Okay, so you have to manage the project. Now the first part of the project proposal is the project aims. Okay, so the project aims basically is the problem. So you have to tell us well what kind of problem okay you want to solve. You need to find this problem out in the first few weeks. Okay, so this is actually the kind of like the core of the FYP. So you have to think about well in the real world, okay, there is particular problems that I would like to solve. Okay, and the aims of this project is to solve that particular problems. Okay, the problem can be very big. It can be very small. It can be only suitable for particular target user. It can be only suitable for particular operations. Okay, but you have to justify. Okay, if the problem is actually nobody care about it, then why you're going to spend time on it? Okay, so when you actually think of the problem, you have to think about well, if I solve the problem, does this application help somebody else? If I make this solution, it solve the problem, but nobody get benefit, then what's the point? Okay, so you have to we have to be realistic that okay, when we solve the problem need to be worthwhile to solve. Okay, not just because of the FYP, so I'm going to solve it, but there's no benefit to any people. Okay, so when you discuss the problem solving with your supervisor, then this is the key. Okay, is that worthwhile to solve? Okay, rather than just solve it because you have to. Okay, and otherwise, okay, your project will become completely impractical. Okay, now of course, okay, in the reality, okay, we may solve some problem with no purpose. Okay, so for example, for student, I give a lot of questions to you to solve. Okay, and there's no real application. Okay, you solve it because you want to learn it. But well, in the outside world, we make something for purpose, cost, earn money. But why you can earn money is because the application is useful to somebody else, right? Now, so after we getting the project aims, okay, then we have to go into the objective. Now, most likely, okay, when we write objective in the proposal, okay, we are going to write them into the point form. Okay, so when you write proposal, when you write objective, most likely it will be point form. Okay, and the objective is listing out how you solve the problem. Okay, so in order to solve the problem from the previous part, the project aim, then you have to think about, well, if I want to solve this problem, then what I have to do. Okay, so you may need to do using some computer technology, okay, website, database. You may need to build up some algorithms. For CIE project, you may need to build up some 3D modeling, AR, VR, okay. And you may also need to create some art design, okay. Now, you don't need to tell me exactly, okay, well, the details of how to solve it, but you have to tell me, well, roughly, okay, if I want to achieve this system, then what I need to do. Okay, so you have to make it into point form. Okay, because well, each point actually telling you, well, in your project you have to do task A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so this is just a summary of the tasks that you are going to do in this project. So you can say the objective is just like a summary of the tasks. Okay, that you're going to do. Okay, it's a summary of the task that you're going to do. Okay, and later on, okay, you will evaluate your performance, your design, your solutions, by looking at this objective and see how much it achieved. Just like, okay, in each course we have learning objective, and then when you do your project, you also have project objective. Okay. So this is the proposal, okay, and so you can see aims, objective, okay, and of course, okay, you have to tell me why the project is important, okay, so there's a value of the project, and then this will be the first part. Second part will be the background, okay, so you have to actually tell us well, whether there is some existing solution already available. So there is a part called background, okay. And so with this, there is some solution already available. And well, what is the difference between the solution available on the market and the one that you propose? And then the next two will be less important, okay, which is the initial solution. Okay, so what is the major idea of how to tackle the problem? Okay, now you don't need to be detailed, okay. It can be very rough, but you need to have some direction. Say, well, if I want to tackle this problem, I may need to build up a particular server, okay, for example, or I have to build up certain kind of hardware. Okay, so this is some kind of initial solutions. You don't need to tell me whether it's good or not. You don't need to tell me whether there is some other solutions. Okay, so initial solution is just to give the reader some idea about well, how you're going to do it. Okay, and then project plan, of course, is needed. Okay, in the project proposal. Okay, some kind of task, okay, you possibly will do, okay, during the initial stage, okay, of course, very, very important, you are going to study, okay, you're going to study, some of you ask me, okay, well, whether the project, the work that you're going to do will be included in the course. Yes, some of them will, but not all of them. So there must be tasks that you have to study in FYP. So you have to learn the knowledge, okay, related to the problem. For example, okay, if you do AI project, then you have to learn AI. Okay, you cannot wait until we finish the course, then it will be too late. So that's why there are some knowledge you have to learn it before you really work on the FYP. Similar to learn it, okay, you also need to do some literature review. You also need to do some research. Okay, you have to finding if the solution already available, finding the available whether the solution is good or not. So you are going to do some research. Most likely now the research will be done online. Okay, so well, not even in the library. Okay, you can actually search them from the internet. But it's important that you know, okay, like what the thing that you are doing there is existing solution. Then you have a lot of meeting. Okay, of course you have to meet your supervisor. Okay, your supervisor will schedule the meeting with you. So I'll talk about the meeting with supervisor later on. And then you also need to meet with your teammate. Now, this is very important. Okay. There is many group think that, oh, every 2 weeks meet with my supervisor once is enough. I'm not going to meet with my teammate. Now, this is very wrong. The meeting of the supervisor is to report to him or her your study or your work in progress. It's the meeting with the supervisor is not a meeting with your teammate. So you have to arrange a meeting with your teammate to make sure that, okay, everyone are on the same track. And there is a lot of brainstorm idea. There's a lot of work and you have to cooperate with your teammate. So I think meeting with supervisor and meeting with teammate are two separate things. Okay. Although some students just think, okay, I will only meet my teammate during this meeting with supervisor. Other than that, the teammate just go away. Okay. And I think that will not be a good habit. Okay. Now for DL, okay, you're going to do it by yourself, okay, but we will still have meeting with all the students together, okay, to share the idea, to make sure that everyone get experience, get some advice from your classmate, okay. And then we'll have some computing and programming. Of course, you have to develop something, okay, so definitely we include some programming. And also some computing work. Okay, computing work basically means you have to set up the environment. Okay, so there's a lot of situation. Okay, not just programming. You have to set up, say, database environment, server environment, something like that. So there's this environment setting. And for CIE project, okay, you may also need to do some graphic design. Okay, design doesn't mean graphic design. Okay, design means you have to design algorithms. You have to design how to build different kind of functions. Okay, and then there's report writing. Okay, you have to submit your proposal. That's why you have to write the report. You have to do the presentations. Okay. The task in the initial stage, I think I'm not going into details. Okay, you can take a look at it. I think not all the group following the pattern, but they are more or less the same. Okay, in the beginning, you have your project topics. Okay, I think most of you get it. And if you still not get it, then try to figure it out within this 1 to 2 weeks. And then you will try to define your project. Okay, so how to define the project? Okay, you have to find out the project aims, the problem, what is the problem, the project objective, and then some initial solutions. Okay, and then of course you have to prepare your project proposal. Okay, at the same time, okay, there will be meeting between you and your supervisor to make sure that, okay, your supervisor knowing what you're doing, and then during your preparation of your project proposal, you should also consult your supervisor. Okay, and if possible, you can send a draft to them for some review before you submit. Okay, and well, once you prepare your proposal, okay, you don't need to wait our feedback. Okay, we may need to take some time to grade it, but you can continue to go in for design and implementation. Okay, so there's no area for us to stop. So once you finish your proposal, you have to go forward. That's it. Okay, and you cannot wait. Okay, if you wait, then it will delay your whole FYP process. Okay. Okay, consulting your supervisor. Okay, I think this is one of the important things. Because your supervisor will be the one who will grade your project. It will give most of the mark. So you definitely need to have regular meeting with your supervisor. Now, I hope everyone to be proactive. Don't just wait your supervisor find you. I can tell you that well, different supervisors have different working strategy. Some will communicate with their student directly. Some will waiting their student to talk to them. So I cannot guarantee that all the supervisors will approach you themselves. Okay, if you didn't find them, they probably do not find you, and your project will just stop there. Okay. Now most of the project will have only one supervisor. Okay, and except industrial-based project, because for industrial-based project, we will invite the company as a second examiner, and also they will also be a supervisor. Okay, although they do not involve grading, but they will also supervise your work. There are also some FYP. Okay, your supervisor may invite teachers from other departments because of some multidiscipline project. Okay, so they will invite some other professor to join your project, okay, as co-supervisor. But most of the project will be only have one supervisor. Usually you only need to answer one teachers. Okay, and meeting are very, very important. Okay, you need to make an appointment. Okay, you have to discuss with your supervisor what is the good time for discussions. Okay, I don't know the habit of every teachers. Okay, some will be once every week. For example, myself, okay, my group will basically meet me twice. Sorry, once every 2 weeks. Okay, I think once every 2 weeks is the standard. Okay, to most of the group. Okay, but some teacher may be a little bit aggressive, then they may need you to come every week. Okay. But if you say that you just meet with your supervisor once every month, then I think it will be too less. You have to talk to your supervisor. Okay, should we meet more frequent? Okay, remember, the one who give all the progress marks are your supervisor. So if you do not meet with them, then you won't get the progress mark. And also, okay, you need to have some discussion about the progress. You cannot just keep working, okay, until 1 month and then talk to your supervisor. Okay. Now for the meeting, okay, there's no standard meeting agenda about what actually you want to discuss. Okay, every teacher we have different strategy. For me, okay, I will preferring student talk more. Okay, unfortunately, most of the group actually prefer teacher talk more. Okay, so but in the initial stage, okay, in the beginning, more likely, okay, yeah, you will discuss with your supervisor on some project understanding, research, and problem identification. So you have to define the problem in the beginning. But very soon, okay, you have to go to the design part. So you have to kind of like think about, well, the project topic was confirmed, then you have to think about, well, how can you design? How can you really make the project work? Okay. Now, I don't know. Okay, every time when I meet with my student, okay, what they are doing is just sit down and then wait for me to talk. And then eventually I keep talking and they just listen. Okay. I don't like that a lot. Okay. For final year project, okay, there should be a lot of interactions. Okay. I know that supervisor need to talk, but you should be the one who hold the meeting. You should be the one who provide information to your supervisor for comment. Okay. So I hope everyone understands the opportunity of having project meeting is to convince your supervisor that you are doing well. If you didn't actually good use of this opportunity, then you will get very low mark in the progress. Some team always late, skip. Okay, this is actually what I'm saying here. So some team always late on the meeting. Okay, this is very, very bad. You not meet your supervisor or missing from the meeting. Okay, and a significant proportion will end up off a fail grade. Okay, because the overall progress contribute more than 35%. Okay, of your final grade, and 10% will be on progress mark. Remember, your OCAS is only 30. 10% will go to the progress. And last year, I do fail students in their progress because they didn't show up. Even I already scheduled a meeting with the student. They just simply did not show up without any notifications. I think it is completely not acceptable. And even I find them, I send them a message, why you didn't come? They still not give me any reply. Okay, but they submit the report. Okay, come to the final presentation. Okay, but I think this is completely unacceptable. Okay, the meeting is very important. Okay, your supervisor need to know where you are. Okay, how many you have done. So please make sure that you communicate with your supervisor, arrange a regular meeting, and then ask them, well, what is the meeting schedule? Okay, don't just wait until they give the thing to you. Remember, you are doing the project, not your supervisor. Okay, they have no responsibility to arrange everything for you. They are not the project manager. You are. Okay, so this is the message that I would like to show you. I have a lot of very bad experience in the previous few years. They just feel, the student just feel that, okay, everything should be arranged by the supervisor. I just wait here, and then if our supervisor doesn't find me, then I'm not going to do anything. Okay, so the project become the leader of the supervisor. So the project supervisor is the project leader. And if the leader don't do things, then I'm not going to do anything. That's very bad. Okay, so please discuss with your supervisor. Very, very important. Okay. Now, the next thing that I may suggest you to do is to keep notebook. Okay. Particularly, okay, when we didn't meet the supervisor very often, and putting the logbook is actually providing an opportunity for you to report what you have done. Okay, now you have to prepare to present your work during the meeting. I'm not preparing to talk too much during the meeting. Okay, I think you have to talk. So my expectation on students during the meeting is you have to be prepared to present your work. Okay, what you have done, what kind of problem you have, how can you tackle the problem? Do you make up any prototype? What is the results of the prototype? A good preparation of presentation, a good preparation of the meeting, it will make the FYP much better. Okay, and you will feel stress every time at meetings, simply because you don't prepare. Then you just worry that your supervisor will blame you, will give you pressure. Okay, but if you well prepare your presentation, your meeting, you will find that the meeting is very, very meaningful, and you will get a lot of good suggestion and idea. Okay, just telling you, okay, if you give me 0, I will just give you best 0. If you give me a lot, then I will try my best to help you. Okay, so how many you can get from us, it depends on how many you provide to us. Okay, and later on, okay, your supervisor will ask you to keep a logbook. Okay, so logbook here is kind of, sorry, logbook here. Okay, so logbook here. So logbook is you have to, everyone can contribute on the logbook. It do not need to be a formal one, okay, but it provides us opportunity to write down what did you find. You can copy and paste some content from what you have done into the notebook. Pictures, diagrams, snapshot, okay, everything. And you may using the cloud technology to keep the notebook. Say you can put it on OneDrive, Google Drive, even GitHub. Okay, and you may invite the supervisor to give comments. Now this is not compulsory in this project, so but this can help you to keep track on what you have done, and you can also using that to communicate with your partner. Okay, and so I will suggest every group, okay, consider to keep this logbook, okay, in your project, okay. And even an individual project for DL, okay, keeping a logbook are also very important, okay. Now, how do you prepare, okay, your work, okay, I think every time when I meet with my groups, you know that, okay, the teachers and yourself are very busy. We do not have too many time meet with each other, and we just meet 1 or 2 times every week, and very likely, okay, your teachers probably do not know or forget about what we have done before. So that's why when you present your work, you cannot just directly go straight into the point. You have to give some background. Okay, you say last week, okay, or we have tried this, we have tried that, and then here is the result I found. Okay, now be careful that, okay, you also need to you have to summarize your work using a few words. You don't, because the meeting is not very long. Okay, if you talk too much, then you lose the others may not have time to talk. Okay, and you can ask questions. You can tell your supervisor, well, you have some technical problems. Okay, but in more details. Okay, so remember, describe the details. You cannot just tell the supervisor that, well, this does not work. I don't know why. Okay. Now, the general meeting pattern that I face is, well, my group is just here, and then they just start the presentation and say, sir, last week you asked me to do something, and then I've done it, and then this is the result. Then what should I do next? They just sit down and wait for me. All right. Not even FYP student, okay, even some of my research meetings like that. Okay, now bear in mind, okay, the presentation of your work is not just to wait your supervisor to give you the next step. So that's why you can see here, you say, I will demo the system. I want to ask if the plan is okay. So you have to plan what you're going to do next, instead of just presenting the result to your supervisor and then ask your supervisor to give you what is the next step. Okay, that will not be very good. So notebook, as I mentioned before, okay, you have to record your finding. Okay, you have to record your finding. Okay, say any papers, any web page you read, what is the result you're finding? Okay, and at the logbook, you can also record. I already see some students make the recording on the meeting. Okay, so a recording of the meeting are very also important. Okay, I will suggest every group to have one person for this kind of bookkeeping, to keeping the meeting minutes. Okay, to have a record on what we have discussed during the meeting with the supervisor. Okay, so maybe one particular group members will be work as the one secretary. Okay, for example, to actually do this recording. Okay, so it can be one of the role in your FYP. Okay, maybe a fixed person who are very better in written English. Okay, or they can do some very fast bookkeeping. Okay, and always at a date. Okay, is important, because if we fail the day, then we do not know what's going on. Okay, I actually have my own notes and I meet with my groups. Okay, and you should have your own. Okay, finally, okay, it will be project proposal. Now, the schedule of project proposal for full-time and DL course is slightly different. Okay, I will give you some detail later on. But most likely, okay, this will be a roughly schedule. Your mission is to complete the proposal by week 9. So presentation will be split into week 6, week 7, and week 8. Okay, and the proposal is also called initial report. And there's a number of components that you have to put, which is what you're going to do, why you're going to do it, and how you're going to do it. Okay, so you have to study. Okay, you have to study. You have to study the literature. Okay, something you possibly didn't do before. Okay, and when you do a course project, okay, I'm not sure whether you actually do literature review, but in FYP you have to do literature review. Don't just say this project is my boss, my supervisor asked me to do. You have to read data, you have to read information from the internet and see what if somebody did that before. And of course, you have to discuss with supervisor. You have to discuss within your teammate if you're doing good project. You have to organize your information, okay, and you also need to organize the form, okay, your thought on idea. So this is the initial stage, okay. More discussion with supervisor is important, okay, and to find out what, why, and how. Now this is the overall structures of your initial report. Okay, we will have some discussion in the next few weeks about how we actually write. But we need to have 3 chapters. I just give you a very quick review. The first chapter is introduction. Okay, so of course, basically define the problem. Okay, so we have introduction of the project, project aims, project objective, and also the value propositions. Okay, so telling us what is the problem, a high level on how to solve the problem, and why this project is important. So it's called value propositions. And then chapter 2 will be background or literature review. Okay, so you have to justify, okay, for chapter 1. So you have to review existing and create solution for the problem. So what actually exists right now. Now it takes some time for you to get the information from the most likely from the internet. Okay, you cannot just write down the name of the solution, capture one, two of the photo. You have to give description about what this solution are, what is the good and what is the bad thing. Okay, highlight the solution. What are the difference between the existing solution and the one that you're doing right now? What are the difference? Is the good or bad? And then chapter 3 will be the preliminary method, okay, which is overall what you want to do, okay, and then there is some part, okay, but not the B and C is not very important in this moment, okay. So you have to do some kind of requirement, okay, and then some kind of high level design, but I would say B and C are less important in this initial report. Okay, it can be very big, just represent by one diagram or just give me some basic idea on how you're going to do it. Okay, and there's some appendix, okay, on project plan, team member role, okay, and that will be covered in the next few lessons. First 5 weeks, okay. So this will be what we are going to do. Okay, so the topic is supposed to be confirmed in the first few weeks. So for those say DL student or some students do not have group, then you have to confirm the topic as soon as possible. And then start to build up your project proposal. You have to do a lot of discussion to think about the problem, propose your title, and propose the objective. And then literature review to think about why you're going to do that. Is there existing solution? Okay. All right. So this is how you begin the project. Now, do talk to your supervisor, and they will give you more details. Okay. Thank you very much. And then the next few videos, okay, will show how you're going to start to prepare your proposal presentation as well as your proposal report. Okay.